Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. Here after week one of the Rugby Championship. It's also Rugby World Cup Eve with the Women's Rugby World Cup starting this Friday. And we're here to discuss a great one for New Zealand against Argentina and some Curry Cup, right, Cooks? I think there's
Yeah,
nothing else to discuss today.
100%. I mean, obviously, like just nice seeing the All Blacks get one of Argentina, and yeah, the Curry Cup was fantastic. Ball out on a Sunday is always vibing. There was no other rugby to discuss. I mean, it's under 18. I mean, they had a great one over England. They went to
They
the
were good, yeah.
quarantine. Yeah, so like I don't think anything much happened. Obviously, Women's Rugby World Cup kicks off on the weekend. Yeah, otherwise, a very quiet weekend. Very nothing happened at 5 o'clock on Saturday. Twitter's been very
No,
quiet. Just getting back into football life, like a premiership's back. So yeah, it's a quiet weekend.
yeah, I was to be able to watch the Man City game. So it was nice of Sanzar just to cancel the Springbok Wallaby game. So I think this will be a pretty short podcast. But Cooks, we can't hide from it anymore. The Wallabies completed probably one of the most epic comebacks in recent history, winning 38 points to 22 against the Boks in Ellis Park. First time since 1963 that they won in Ellis Park, and the first time in 12 years that they've won in South Africa as well. Um, let's Cooks, yeah. I mean, I think before we go into the South African post-mortem, like let's start with the Wallabies because I mean we were messaging during the game. It went from like me thinking, okay, the Wallabies haven't pitched here. They've clearly not come with the intensity that they need. Every phase, the Springboks seem to get about 10 to 15 meters. They scored three tries very easily, very early. Like, I mean, they had the 22-0 lead by like the end of the first quarter to just one of the most amazing comebacks you've ever seen. So, yeah, Cooks, I think from the Wallabies' point of view, like, what's the main thing that they did in order to turn the game around?
I mean, it's so wild, Tyler, because you're right. I mean, at the first half, I was writing the Wallabies sort of like eulogy already. I'm like, oh, like I wonder, is it because it just reminded me so much of that first half against the Lions where they just didn't pitch. You're like, oh, this again. But then the problem was like, but the Boks have pitched. I'm like, they could get 80 here, the way the Springboks are going, and then to turn that around and to find that resolve, and then, oh man, to put together. That's probably one of the best Wallaby halves I've seen. They're probably put together in a long time. And I've seen, I mean, 33-0, they beat the Springboks in the second half. And Tella, for me, I think the big thing is they all, which sounds so funny, is because they're turning themselves into a good side, is that they also they just fed off all our mistakes.
Yeah,
They were so clinical in the second half and the chances they got, the line breaks they got. And also like I just kind of felt like in the second half, Tella, like is they found a different way to sort of approach the box rush D. I always mention that against the box rush, like you have to be brave. Like you got to be willing to lose 6 to 10 meters to gain a further 30. And we've seen the All Blacks sort of try and go with chip kicks or little kick passes, or almost using their skills where sort of forcing the defender on you and then sort of getting a pass away late. The Irish tried to obviously attack all the inside runners, and we saw some of their moves they had and sort of trying to catch the guys on the inside who any lazy runners. Whereas like Australia did something where most sides don't do, where is they actually take on that last defender and try get it over his head as early as possible. No, we
yeah,
saw we saw James O'Connor a few times in that test, sort of just as he gets it, a massive skip, two, three players, big float out wide where someone like a Max Jorgensen and Dylan Peach before he got injured. Like when they get in the ball, they get in the ball, they get in the ball into so much space, and now all of a sudden now you got a Max Jorgensen running at you on 30 to 40 meters. I mean, you can ask Manie Libbok how that ended for him with Max Jorgensen. So they found a different way to sort of attack the rush. And also what was interesting as well, they had those little chips over the top as well. So they kept asking the box questions in terms of what they're going to do. And I think we speak a lot about the likes of Colby and the likes of Masema Pimpi as well. Like they defensive work, I mean, they attack work, but defensively in that rush, they are so good. I mean, Ed will find themselves caught out a few times between almost in no man's land over them. Am I going for the ball or sort of trying to stop, or am I going for the intercept, or am I going,
yeah.
am I taking on ball and man, which is what the Wallabies wanted. So I love the way they sort of manipulated the rush defense. And I must say, and also credit to Joe Schmidt, I mean, in terms of you can see. what he's trying to do is like Angus Bell was fantastic when he came back on. So he's trying to save some guys for the second half. Gleeson was fantastic again. He has a bit of steel. Um, so you can see he's sort of wanting to sort of have an 80-minute effort. And I think obviously the scariest thing for me with the Wallabies is that there are guys that they're going to get back, like a
Yeah,
Valentine going to come back, and now you got a Tim Hooper possibly who goes to the bench and sort of he makes a bench even stronger. But Thala was an incredible performance, and I think after that Lions sort of third test win and Saints performance is that they're starting to believe now in games like this, and that's what you want from the Wallabies is there's a belief there that things are finally coming right. And what scares me the most is yes, we as Bok fans we're going, okay, cool, we should not implode like that in the second half. But my thing is going with the Wallabies is like it sounds strange to say, as good as they were in the second half, they probably didn't do the things they did well against the Lions. I mean, they didn't. I mean, obviously you're not gonna get scrum dominance against Springboks, but Lion wise were good. But like they didn't get as much of over the advantage, and maybe in the second half they got more dominant. But in that first half they were nowhere.
yeah,
And like so now my thing is now my worries for this week is yes, there's rain forecast for Cape Town, but the Wallabies won't be daunted by that because they could get a Valentini back. A Skelton will probably be a little bit better. They can still up the intensity a little bit more, especially in the first half, especially if it goes into a bit of a I don't think it'll be as expansive as obviously it was in Joburg, but I still think the Wallabies have got another few gears to go. And the problem is under Joe Schmidt, especially now this year, you've seen they do get better each week after they spend time reassessing, seeing the opposition. So that's the scary part for me. But what a brilliant performance from the Wallabies.
yeah. I mean, it's. I think first of all, like you said, the belief thing is big because they went from being a like. I mean, we've seen how many times the Wallabies have lost these close games the last 6 years, like under any. Well, they didn't have many close games under Eddie Jones, but and even last year with Joe Schmidt, like they've messed up these games. I mean, we saw in even the second test against the Lions that they've come out on the opposite side. And in this game, they made sure that okay, we are actually going to come over and do our best against the Boks and take this game away from them. I think the first thing to acknowledge is they didn't give up, and that was big for them. Like I don't, yeah, I mean, I think it felt like to many people, to myself included, that game was pretty much over after the first quarter. Like it was now just a matter of okay, can the Boks just maintain the 3-try bonus point gap? And they just in that last 20 minutes of the first half, they just were able just to get some control back in the game. And it just felt like two things that they did well, and it's sort of reflected in the stats. Number one, turnovers. So obviously Fraser McReight was man of the match, well deserved. They got 6 turnovers to the Boks 3. And it just felt like they were able just to get themselves back into the game by winning those ruck turnovers. We saw even with the penalties, the penalty count was 10 penalties conceded by the Boks to 4 for the Wallabies. I mean, it was what 2-3 years ago we were talking about how ill-disciplined the Wallabies were, and that their matches played and the yellow cards were basically doing a race between each other. So I mean, that's a good thing. If you concede 4 penalties in a match, I mean, if you concede 4 penalties in a half, you think that's a pretty good
Yeah.
half. So they were really good, really accurate, really disciplined in the rucks. It wasn't just McReight. Hooper was really good there. I think Frost was cleaning up bodies quite well. Not that I think Skelton had as great a game as he usually does in UK and Ireland, but I think he was good in the first half and just sort of occupying bodies in that space as well. And then secondly was the kicking game. Like they didn't have territory, but they were just able just to clear the pressure that they're feeling from the Boks. Like they had 29 kicks to 18. So they kicked 11 more times in the Boks. And according to Rugby Pass, their kick to pass ratio was 1 kick for every 4.7 passes. So every about 5 passes they kick. The Boks was 1 to 11.8. And we'll talk about the Boks and their game plan and maybe why that might have not been the best approach. But I think they just were able just to calm the game down in that 20 to 40 minutes because those 3 tries happen. Esterhuizen goes over, Kolisi goes over. Like it seemed like the wings were getting space. Esterhuizen was just bursting through in the midfield. It just seemed like every time the Boks got the ball, it took them 5-6 phases to be at the try line. Whereas with the Wallabies, they just needed that last 20 minutes just to get themselves back into the game. They're able to force the Boks into some mistakes in the rucks, concede some penalties, get into the 22, and then finally that try from Peach, I think that was the first try, just well taken, and they were able just to get themselves a foothold in the game. Then in the second half, what they did was they just took the momentum from the first few minutes. I mean, the first Wilson try happened, 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
And then from there, it just felt like they were going downhill. The Boks were just driving up, Table Mountain, essentially. Another stat, just to take away from the game, is the Boks and Wallabies actually had quite similar 22 entries. The Boks had 13, the Wallabies 11. The Wallabies scored 3.4 points per entry, which is really bad from a Bok defense perspective, but fantastic from an attacking perspective. If you score 3 points or more, you're doing a good job. And the Boks had 1.4 points per entry. So that shows their defense was great. Like, they maybe will, I think maybe we can talk about game plan stuff in a bit, but I think they were like, okay, we'll give them the meters in the middle of the field. If they want to run, they can run. In the 22, we'll get more intense. We'll compete in the rucks. Obviously, we're maybe more familiar with Ben O'Keefe. I mean, obviously, he referees them in Super Rugby. And we'll be more accurate in the rucks and sort of expose the fact that the Boks are sort of attacking and keeping the ball in hand. So there are going to be rucks where it's only one person there, or the person is too late. He was part of another phase, or the likes of Kolisi and Pieter-Steph are on the wing, so they're not there to clean out like they usually do clean out. And that'll be the time for McReight or Hooper or someone like that to cause some troubles in the rucks. So their defense, I think the attack was fantastic, but we also need to mention how great their defense was, because the Boks, it's not like the Boks didn't have opportunities after the first 20 minutes. They probably took their first 3 opportunities, or let's say 3 out of the first 4, and then the other 8 that they had, they weren't able to get in. So just a great all-round performance after the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I tell you spot on, and what I love the fact you're right. I mean, the way they exited every time under pressure, especially in that first half, was brilliant. I mean, they always found good exits. I mean, Nick White kicked well, James O'Connor the same. Tell you, also the Wallabies are slowly but surely developing a very, very good attacking line out as well. I saw against the Lions as well. I mean,
Jeff Parling.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Parling is going to cook. I mean, against the Lions. I mean, Nick Frost was. I know we speak about Will Skelton of the Lions tour. He got a lot of praise, but I thought Nick Frost was fantastic on Saturday as well. But you look at Tom Hooper as well as an extra line option as well. I mean, Tom Hooper he reminds me of Scott Fardy. Just the extra line option, the amount of work he gets around the park, and just also he does. I mean, yes, he's no Valentini in terms of ball carries, and no one is and no one is Valentini, and that's what worries me as well. Like, from a Springbok point of view, Valentini is back because that gives them an extra physical edge, and now we've lost Pieter-Steph to Toit, and you've lost Sia. If there's ever a test not to have those two, you'd want them is probably this weekend.
Yeah.
So I think for the Wallabies place, there's still room to grow. I mean, I thought James O'Connor. I mean, after the first 20 minutes, I see he's playing like 10 Edmund, because I was just like, James, like, can you get a grip on the game? And I love James O'Connor at 10, and once he did, you can see that experience sort of coming through. And
Yeah.
like the aura performance was fantastic. Even the pressure they forced the Springbok into, like, with going on wide, like, yes, the pressure of McReight and breakdown second them. Then also they did so well with, like, the Swahili, for example, defensive read to get the intercept. So it shows, like, where they're going. I mean, I still don't know why they have a slight rush, because, like, they just don't even when the Wallabies defend is a fact. I'm just like, they just give away so many of these little breaks, and they just
Yeah.
find themselves into trouble again. When you're like, oh, just get off the line, you stop conceding these many breaks, because then they go from, like, you look at the lines, you can even look at the lines, sort of second test match, where
Yeah.
how quickly they can go from being exit well, being in the opposition's 10 meters down the half line, then you blink, then they're on 22 because someone's 2 carries later. Then, like, so that's the only worrisome thing. And then, unfortunately, if you're doing against the Springboks, they become very, very hard to stop. But no, Tyler, incredible performance from the Wallabies, and again, this installs belief. And for them now, I'll get to the Boks. I mean, I've got a mini run coming about the Springboks, but for the Wallabies, it's like if the Wallabies win this week, lose this weekend, it's job done. They if you
Yeah.
call Joe Schmidt, I'll give you one win in South Africa, 1-1 before you,
Bonus point win.
and you would take it exactly a bonus point. So if you leave South Africa, yeah, it was 5 points in 2 games. You say, okay, cool. Obviously I'll take that and run. Because then the thing is now the championship was on for them. It almost goes in their hands because they're probably going, okay, we're gonna beat Argentina at home twice. You take those odds every day of the week. That's what you want. Then you're going realistically, the Springboks and New Zealand All Blacks should go 1-1 on 4 months, or you never
Yeah.
know if All Blacks. Then now you're going, okay, now we go to Players World Cup. Now it goes on momentum. Now you got that in hand. That throws that into the mix as well. Now you're going, okay, cool. If we can walk into the All Blacks game 3 from 4, we're playing with house money. It was now for us, like this is like I don't know why we can't now for us now we need a massive effort now because now we need to basically run the table
Yeah.
because that and to make sure it stays in our own hands. I mean, like you said, now we've got, and it was going to affect in Argentina. Argentina's going to wake up and roll one of these sides. So someone's catching Argentina on a good day, and the fact that it's like for the Springboks now, we sort of we almost have to find ourselves having to go to New Zealand. Sort of, I mean, even 1-1 is there, but then now you sort of now we need a yes, Argentina should beat them here and in London, but again, it's just like you just if we're just gone against the Wallabies, we win these 2 games. Argentina, you back yourselves to win 2 of those games. That's 4 wins already. Then you can go 1-1 against All Blacks, shake their hands, and cool, thanks for coming, back-to-back champions. But now we're in a dogfight now, and for the Wallabies, they put themselves in a great contention to sort of to compete. And the nice thing is like it'll all be in their hands because they leave here and they go back to Australia to play against Argentina while we go and
Yeah.
deal with the All Blacks.
Yeah. Cooks, yeah, just a few more things on the Wallabies. Which step did you like the most? Jorgensen's step or right step? Were both of them on Libbok?
No, I think Rice step was on Willemse.
Okay.
No,
But yeah,
the
like just
Jorgensen
both of
step.
them were just ridiculous.
No, Jesus, the Jorgensen one, probably that one I leaned towards that one more because the way he sort of sized him up, you could see he wasn't ever going at full tilt and sizing up, and then once it got him, it dropped him because in hindsight, you're probably thinking he's probably going to step back inside and it's going to go like in out a little bit of beta and then sort of go back on the outside and leave Manie stranded there. I mean, that for me was probably my favorite.
Yeah. But yeah, just speaking of those players, like Jorgensen, I mean, I was listening to the BSPN Scrum pod, the Australian pod. They're talking about Jorgensen being like on that cusp of world class, and you can't fight that. Like he's now had 4 tests in a row against two of the better sides you'll probably face this year, and he's performed. And he's done the thing where he gets given like half a meter of space, he'll make something happen. And that's just, I mean, we know this with like in South Africa with like the likes of Colby and Orense. Like that's not something that all wingers have. Like he's just put himself out there as a great wing. And right, I mean, he started horribly with not being able to catch a high ball, but then when the game became more helter skelter, and that was probably the fault of the Boks, but when the game became more chaotic, the chaos merchant himself was able to really make.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Matt Jorgensen, yeah, he's cooking at the moment. I mean, he's playing very well. It's definitely a gem that they've found. Like, I mean, even that first test against the Lions, he's probably the stand-up player from Australia, and then he just keeps getting better and better, and such. And my thing for him, I tell you, is whenever he does get these breaks, he always seems to make the right decision. When to chip, when to pass inside, when to go for the step, and then
Yeah.
Tom Wright for me is, I tweeted it, I think that last Lions test in the rain. And I was like, look, his game has gone so far from where he was, let's say probably 2, 3 years ago when he turned into 15, where it was when he was a full-on chaos merchant, where at the Brumbies he got more responsibility as a playmaker coming in at 10. His kicking game has come a long way. Listen, to be fair, Tyler, I understand you saying you could catch a high ball, but when Grant Williams is so accurate, and you have Eben Etzebeth sort of chasing at you. I don't. There's so many. I think you're basically prime for Lau. Is probably the only guy who's getting that ball back. But like, it just Tom Wright makes you laugh. Is that when he makes line breaks because it seems like there's nothing on and he just turns on the pace and you're like, how is this Oak 40 meters in space now? Because the one where
Yeah,
he struggles with Moody and Kriel, the ball just goes wild. And you think, okay, cool, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. He has two defenders on him, and you blink, you're like, oh, okay. Now he's 60 minutes down the field, and you're like, and for me, as soon as the ball got knocked on from I think it was Estays and you broke there, I'm like, it's a try. And like everyone's like trying to see if the last. I'm like, it's a try. Like Tom Wright is one of the few is very very hard to stop in full flight. And to
yeah,
put Williams say using no man's then cross covering or Tom Flight in full flight, Tom Wright in full flight. But again, they again the Wallabies are just starting to put together a really good side. I feel like Joe Schmidt has gotten them where Dave Rennie was. Now hopefully now they just don't fire him for no reason. At least they've got a plan with Les Kiss coming in, but. They getting together good. So I think 10 obviously is a little bit of worry in terms of James O'Connor, but look, like in line and the guys coming. I think the way Joe Schmidt plays, he- it's weird with Joe Schmidt because you don't know. For some reason, he doesn't like backup 10s. Because if you're a backup 10 for Joe Schmidt, you're not going on the field. It's simple as that. Because Donaldson would be on the bench, he would not go on 10. Everyone else was a backup 10, he didn't go on the field. Um, but you look at Nick Wright, shortest retirement of all time, he's back. But then, like, at 9, they look like they covered. At 10, James O'Connor is obviously there. And I still think that Joe Schmidt probably still wants Lucio back. I think he's still Lucio. I still think that's his 10. But then, like, you look at 12 with Iketau. I thought Swahili was very good again. I mean, Iketau is special. I mean, he was fantastic. But then, like, but now they're building themselves a bit of a back three as well. Listen, if you can keep Andrew Callaway on the bench, then you know you got some serious depth in the back three. So the backline is coming along nicely, and obviously the package. So yeah, it's a good time to be a Wallaby fan.
yeah. And I mean, just on that, I think we mentioned earlier, Cooks, their bench is looking really good now and quite strong. So you have Bell coming in, he does a good job. Paenga Mosa looks consistent now. Like he's been in and out of the Wallabies for what, 8 or so years, but he's finally looking like he can sort of build like at least sort of 7 out of 10 performances. And he was really good coming on for Pollard. Um, Williams, I'm not the biggest fan, but I think he's been really good the last two test matches. He's really helped with just keeping the momentum. He's also a good operator in the line out. He's helping to sort of clear bodies. Gleason's obviously a really big ball carrier. We know how effective he can be. Tizano didn't even play this game. He could have been involved in that as well. So, you know, the it's becoming now, and I mean, they, like you mentioned, Cooks, there wasn't a Valentini. Lina and Lolesio weren't available. Gordon wasn't there. Alatoa wasn't there. Slipper was off at half time. So there's more that can come to this team. Like you can add a few more players to actually make this team even stronger. So, you know, we're getting back to that place now where the Wallabies have 26 to 30 players that if any of them are on the team, you're fine. Look, with Joe Schmidt, they just have to convince him to stay for another year. Like that seems to be the Rugby Australia strategy. Like he was only supposed to be there until 2024.
Yeah,
Then they twisted his arm for the Lions. Then it was after the Rugby Championship. Just one more twist. Like
yeah.
then we basically have the World Cup.
Like you're right. Like if I was them, I'd be like exactly because like you can blink because like, you was meant to finish at the line. Then it's like, okay, cool, championship. It's like okay, no, what I'll do is I'll just go until the year ends, and then Les Kiss will start the next year. Poor Les Kiss is like, when am I coaching the Wallabies? Like, like I really want to coach the Wallabies. Like, it's like, because obviously like, I know he becomes like director and so he plays that role. But I must say, it just proves again, Joe Schmidt is just a phenomenal coach and the work that he's done. And like you mentioned, like you said last year, it's going to take time and they're definitely the finished product. But I mean, if you're a Wallaby fan, you're sitting out your 2 years out of the World Cup you're starting to see that sort of belief coming in. Starting to see that things are going on. And like you said, they've got 26 guys who can do a job, which the scary part is now is the momentum. Like, it's a massive win to come to like Ellis Park and win.
Crazy.
Like, the All Blacks tend to win. Like, they got a decent record at Ellis Park, but winning at altitude, haven't been the Springboks in South Africa in what 14 years. I mean, there's guys like there's so many other players we've come across in decent one besides who've not going to win in South Africa. It's a massive win for these bunch of kids now. That gives them incredible confidence going, okay, cool, like we actually are on the right path.
Yeah. That's a win away in Argentina, a win away in Twickenham, a win away in Ellis Park. They were a minute away from even winning the Lions series. So now, geez, this Australian team is looking like a problem now
Yeah.
again. So we have to go to the other side now, the Springboks. Yeah, Cooks, I'm sure there's a few rants that you have. I'm going to sort of keep it open in terms of what you want to start with, because yeah, there's a few. It seems like there's a few different issues with regards to game plan and approach and selection and certain aspects of the game and old versus young. So yeah, where do you want to go to first?
Oh, I don't know, Stefan. I was gonna rant about us. I mean, obviously the position we put ourselves in the championship, but I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to believe that we'll win our next four games. Sure, Tyler. I think the Springboks this weekend was so funny because like I think my first reaction was probably just disbelief. Like as it was happening, I was like, what is this meltdown? And I think the key takeaway I think everyone's talking about is, like I mean, it's tough week to be Tony Brown. If we Tony Brown is tough because we loved you in the first 20 minutes, and then you'd be catching a flacking for the other 60 minutes. Like what are we doing, Tony Brown? Like what type of rugby are you trying to play? But I think the key thing for me, Taylor, is I think the biggest takeaway is our game management. And I'm, a lot of people still saying like, yo, the way we play was the way we play, like it was, what do you call it? It was, too flashy. I mean, yes, we made 212 passes, and like the Tony Brown way, like let's go back to the Springbok way. That was the biggest thing. Bring back Pollard, bring back Willie, bring back all the guys that were played in 2019. And I don't have an issue in the game plan and the team that was picking. You can try to see like it's the game management. It's the time is when at 22-12, for example, I thought to myself, okay, cool. The Boks are gonna just regain some control of this game, slow it down a little bit. Let's go back to sort of grind it out and like because the funny thing is now is this is the second time we've been caught out in the second half. First was Italy in the first Italy test where they beat us in the second half, and then now against the Wallabies. And that's something for us that's probably is very concerning. Is that what's happening in the second half? Is it a fatigue thing? Is what is going on? So my frustration was we could have easily maybe found a way to slow the game down, just gain control, go back to our basics, get the forwards going, get the scrum going, and but it felt like the more pressure the Wallabies put on us, the more expansive we went. We're like, well, if they're gonna score tries, if they're gonna score 30, we're gonna score 40, and you're like and you kept playing into their hands. And because the frustrating thing with the Wallabies, most of their tries came from like big line breaks from about 50, 60 meters out. It wasn't like they were holding
Yeah.
phases against us. And where we're losing the balls, we were gaining meters and meters, and boom, turnover ball, rack time. But like with the more expansive we go, I'm like, and I think that's the frustrating thing was, yes, Grant Williams and Manie, their game management wasn't great. That's a tough one on Grant. That's something that he's probably, as he gets into the starting role of, listen, you're gonna be able to learn how to control these games and manage these games. Then there's maybe a trait that we underrate from a like of a Kubas Reinach and the Faf. That's what they bring to the Springbok side, and obviously no better game manager than Andre Pollard. So it's our game management for me, Tal. And yes, I understand that we are trying to play a certain way. We have to adapt, and we got all these exciting backs. We got to give them the ball, but we also got to find know when to kick, when to run it. That's where we felt like we just leaned too much on the pass game, and maybe because of Manie at 10 with these guys, and yeah, I think that was the big concern, and also I don't think I've seen a Bok bench players that bad in a very long time. Yeah, like our bench on the weekend, like I can't remember when our benches had such minimal impact. I mean, I blinked at about like the 70 minutes stage. I was like, oh, Bonfint and Tlhokanya on actually. Oh wow, sorry, didn't didn't see them on the. I'm like, oh, kind of see them on the park. So yeah, I mean, David Williamson. I mean, I love me some Gaza. I think that's sort of one of the better tests we've seen him in. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing with them. My takeaway is our bench just not a great performance from our bomb squad on our bench, and then obviously just our game management.
Yeah. I think game management is the place to stick on, because this wasn't like, I mean, look, Bonfenta and Tlabakanya are both at the start of their careers, like, and when the side was selected, there was an element of, okay, maybe we're trying some players, we didn't necessarily select Vincent Goff or someone like that. We're trying out some players. But still, the team that was on the field at the end of the game still had, experienced campaigners, World Cup winners like Ebenezer, Bonambi, Mostert, Kwaka Smith. Van Staden is pretty much in that sort of somewhat experienced range. Reinach, Esthuizen, Creel, and Willems at fullback. So there's more than enough experience and there's more than enough people that should be able to sense the moment. And Kooks, I think you're right. When that Harry Wilson try happened, the first one, that's when, the talk under the post, I think that was just before Kolisi and Lodioka get subbed off.
Yeah.
So at that stage, Kolisi should be able to get the players around and just be like, okay, guys, we're slowing it down now. Like, It's been fun. It's been great playing the Tony Blair ball, at least for the next 10 minutes. Get it into the right areas and territory. Use our forwards to sort of grind the Wallabies into mistakes, force penalties, try to get the scoreboard ticking again. And then obviously the big pass happens from Manie Libbok. So then that's your second warning. You're still in the lead. You still have a 3-point lead. That's now when Elizabeth is coming around to people and just be like, okay, we are stopping the passing now. Everyone, please stop. Manie, if John Dobson is in your ear right now, please put the Bluetooth off. Like, this is now, we're kicking for corners. We're putting the up and unders again, like what worked in the first 20 minutes. We're going to get to their half. And like we said earlier, the problem wasn't us getting into the 22. We did that tons, even in the second half. But we just weren't able to get points because we made stupid mistakes with our rucking, or we conceded penalties or conceded turnovers. And then it's like, okay, Manie, can you get us a drop goal? Or can we do a few pick and drives and hopefully force a penalty? And that was just the change in approach that was missing. And I mean, at this stage, with a team of this experience, I'm not looking at the coaches, I'm looking at the players, because these are players that have more than enough experience, more than enough caps, like over 1,000 caps in that squad, to be able to see that the game is turned. How do they grab control of the game? We saw what the All Blacks did. They were in a pretty similar situation where the Pumas were coming back. They were on top. They were away from home, the All Blacks even. So the crowd is now on top of them. The Pumas are pretty much, I think, a score away from taking the lead. And what the All Blacks did in the next 10 minutes was they slowed the game down. They got the penalty. Bowden Barrett kicked for touch. They scored a try. Now, the problem with the Boks is that our line-out really doesn't work these days. So that takes away that option. But yeah, like, there's too many things now that aren't quite working. We'll probably get to them as well. But my worry was just that the senior players didn't really stand up there. And, yes, that is a Manie Libbok thing. He is your fly half. That is a Grant Williams and somewhat Reinach thing. They are your halfbacks. But that's a whole team approach. Like, Willems didn't really help things. Like, he was playing, Stormers Willems and sort of, that Ringolo Goof Troop type of game plan than, the Bok game plan. But the forwards were also popping up like offloads and passes. We saw Creel and Esthuizen in that break. They were also trying to do basketball passes between each other. Like, I'm sure we'll get to Libbok now in his performance. I don't look at Manie being the only person there. There were 15 players on that field that at least for 10 of them, I expect a lot better from, because they're experienced Boks, they're World Cup winners, they should know what to do. I'm not looking at Tlabakanye and asking him for solutions, but I'm looking at, the Etzebeths, the Van Stadens, those sort of players that have been there before.
Yeah, and I think that's my big thing as well. Like you're right, because I mean, there's enough players that have been in big games, been in big moments to sort of know when to gain control. I mean, like, I think we can get to Manie's performance now. I mean, there's been a talk of Twitter for the last 2 days, and
Surprise.
it's so weird because Manie was good until he wasn't, and like he kind of summed up the Springbok performance, because I mean 20 minutes. I mean, I thought he was like scintillating. You know what I mean? I mean that pass he gave to Krill for Esterhuizen's try. Like where Krill also gets to the drift, and you think to yourself, I'm like, I've been putting one of my groups. I'm like, is there a better pass or a rugby ball at 10 better than Manie at the moment? Like the way he can pass it across the line, it's. I mean, I said like the only person I can think is better than him passing a ball is probably Finn. And then a couple of moments later, he throws the intercept, and it's like I'm like, oh, Manie, like, fuck today. But and then I think with Manie, I mean, you look at yes, there's the intercept, the intercept that lead the interception. But I'll tell you what my frustration is like, because two things can be right. I mean, the pass wasn't a great pass, but for me, like there's an angle and you see at the back, the gap between like Manie and Pieter-Steph, the next. It's about a 10-minute, 15-minute gap. I'm like, there's like the way it just summed up the box for me. I'm like, so there's no one to dump it off to close. Everyone is just like, we've got to get this ball out wide, out wide, out wide. And obviously goes for the big pass. And I'm just like sitting there like, I'm like, is it no? Like the box is as adamant on getting this ball as wide as possible. And as a fantastic and when Swahili got it. I mean, and then with Manie, like unfortunately, like some of his errors did lead to tries. Like someone mentioned, like the thing with Manie is like what get frustrated is, so they go like, yeah, but then he got sidestepped. I'm like, well, where did the break happen? He just happened to be the last defender,
Yeah.
and and then he got cooked. Like when Tom Wright makes that break, him and Williams sort of lose communication in terms of like who's gonna press where, who's gonna shadow where. But everyone goes like, yeah, but Manie, that also leads to an error. I'm like, but Tom Wright literally just fended off Creel and Moody in not even be in the situation. So mine is always the scapegoat, and I'm not scapegoating him, but I feel like he's always the first guy that leads to if anything goes wrong, it goes Manie's fault. I mean, guys, the Springboks did a line out in the middle of the fucking field for no reason. I don't know. I was like, what are we doing? Tell her we called a line out in the middle of the field and we popped to the nine. I was like, what the actual fuck is going on here? Like, I was like, what? Like, I need someone to explain. Rather than you just come on a statement and explain that and be like, Rest was like, was it meant to be a mall? Because all it was just like a line out, and the body was like, okay, cool. We'll just sort of just press around. Like, it was the strangest things. And like, so that's the thing, and I think with Martin, the disappointing thing is that, like, I think, and I put him and Grant in terms of they just couldn't keep control of that game, and then they sort of let it slip, didn't know when to slow it down, and like a little bit of the storm sort of crept in where they were like, we're just gonna beat, like even Martin himself, like we're just gonna force it into submission, and we're gonna score points, it's gonna come right, it's gonna come right, it's gonna come right, until it didn't, and unfortunately, he's he's very good at the start, was matched with was very bad as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the thing is, looking at the other 9 and 10 on the other side of the field, with White and O'Connor, when when the momentum was against them, as we talked about, they decided, okay, we're slowing this down. White started doing those like low clearance kicks, like because Ebenezer was pretty much all up in his grill. And he was just able to get 20, 30 meters, just get out of our 22, just let's start again from there. O'Connor was able to just get the ball deep, like he tried for a 50-22 once or twice. They were able just to sort of get the momentum out. And even like, I think it was the end of the first half, they sort of tried running it out of the 22, but it seemed more in control than what the Boks were doing. Like, it didn't seem like there was a player that was isolated when they're running the ball. There seemed to always be a player around them. And when it wasn't working, they slapped it down the field. So that just shows for Manie and for Grant and for whoever, like that's what you should do when you're trying to control a game. And when I think one of the biggest memories I have of the 2023 World Cup is when Henry Pollard comes on the field and he goes to everyone. Like, that's what Pollard is, and that's what you need to be when you're an experienced fly half. And unfortunately, that just wasn't what happened with Manie on Saturday. Is just that ability. LaRue pretty much does that as well. Just that ability to guys, calm down, listen to me. This is what we're going to do for the next 5 minutes. This is how we're going to just put ourselves back in this game. And just no one was able just to take that moment for the Springboks. Cooks, the other thing is the game plan. So obviously, there's two sides to this. I think similar to the Manie conversation. Squid Rugby did a fantastic video. I think it came out on Friday about the Springboks evolution, their game plan. And obviously, it's Squid, go watch it. And he basically made the point that, rugby's obviously moving away from defense dominating. Rassie sees this, and this is probably why he got in, the likes of Tony Brown, he got in Felix Jones, he got in Jerry Flannery. And all three of them are pretty much people that can all input in the attack. And with the attack, I think it's two things. It's one, we see that defense is not on top anymore. Rush defenses aren't really things that control games. You have to be able to score 20, 30 points to win a game. I think I'd even make a prediction that the next Rugby World Cup final is going to be a 25-23 or 30-28 type of game instead of what was this one? 10-8 or whatever the score was in the World Cup final. And the second thing is we're playing in Australia in early summer. We're not playing in France in sort of, early autumn or winter. So we know how Australian fields are, hard and fast. It's basically like playing in the high veld. So I think the Boks are actually almost building towards that and saying, okay, we're playing a final Suncorp or in the MCG or, in Sydney or wherever the place is. We need to be able to run and we need to be able to sort of, be able to sort of get that momentum. So the problem though is, and I've seen this with the Bulls in Highveld as well. When you're trying to sort of do that game plan of trying to blow teams out of the water in the first 20, 30 minutes and sort of run them off their feet and then relying on altitude to sort of kick them out, is you kind of run yourself off your feet.
Yeah.
And to me, I think the Boks in the last, let's say 10 minutes in the first half and pretty much the whole second half, they look punch drunk. Like they look like they were the ones tiring. They look like the ones that they weren't able to get to rucks. And then you see where those ruck penalties come from. It's someone being too late. And then now, like you saw, I think the worst one was probably Krill's clean out, where it was from the side. It was a desperation thing because he was probably tired and probably too late to get to that. You see the mistakes with, like you said, with Manie Libbok's intercept. Why isn't there someone close to him for Libbok to dump the ball off to? And obviously with a touchline to touchline type of attacking game plan, now someone like Oxen Chair is probably running more than he's done before. Someone like Itzebeth is running more than he needs to. And obviously these players are supremely fit, but, I think you need a different, there's a different game plan for you sort of relying on doing 12, 13 scrums and mauling 5-10 times a game versus now Ox and Eben and Pieter-Steph are doing like 8 passes a game and 10 carries a game. And now they need to be able to be fit for that. And maybe the Boks are still trying to get to that place. And maybe that's also part of the reason why the second half isn't working is that the players are tired and they still, or maybe, that there's no added Walters, but like there's maybe almost a game plan and a fitness thing for them to maybe lose a few kilograms so that they can, run around in Australia. So it's a difficult thing because the game plan, I think, is bringing problems to the ruck because players aren't able to get to the rucks in time. And we've seen this in the Italy game. We saw this in games last year that we're not able to secure our attacking ruck ball because probably our two best ruckers, Kolisi and Pieter-Steph, are on our wings the whole time. And I think it's also leading to us being tired, but it's also leading to us maybe our bench not being as effective because we're not taking the legs away from the team. Like we're not doing the mauls and the scrums and all that sort of stuff that takes away, a team's energy. We're kind of taking away our own energy because we're keeping the ball for 200 passes. We have a 12-to-1 pass kick ratio. We're the ones that are doing all the running. And it seems like it's sort of being counterintuitive. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens this weekend in terms of selection and game plan. I mean, the rain will probably help with sort of limiting the game plan. But then what happens in Eden Park and in New Zealand now is, are we going to continue to trust this? Are we going to sort of just say are we going to sort of use the Tony Brown way as, okay, we have moves that we can do from set piece, or are we going to sort of fully commit to this? Because I don't know. I think Kooks I land on this and saying, I don't think it's the wrong game plan. I just think the players and the coaching staff and the team still needs to adapt to it. And that's when we'll be like, okay, maybe we can't sort of go wide in these phases because our props still need to get there to rack, or we need to sort of be able to tighten it up a little bit. So yeah, I'm still conflicted as to whether the game plan is working or not.
I just think, Tyler, like, understand, like I said, we had like a 1-11 kick ratio. Can you get 1-7? 1-8? Like, I'm like, must be a little, like, Tyler, I agree with you, and the one thing with attack, I always say it does take the longest to get right. Attack tends to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is the Boks would hurt them. Like I think it's execution. So that's what we're dealing with here. Like if the Boks execute better, we probably up at 35 to 40 points in the first half. The game is done. So I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest one. I think which we sort of take away. It's like it's like a kicking game. Tyler, like it's no such thing as bad kicking. It's, I mean, sorry, like too much kicking. Sometimes you deal with bad kicking, and people back in the day it was like, oh, we just kick too much. Like no, we just kick like shit in this game. That's the difference. So I think that's for me is that balance you're gonna find, and I thought we found it in the first 20 minutes. That's where it's perfect. Like you look at some of the trials where it leads. You come from a Grant Williams box kick, we went back, we exited well, territory put well, we could contestables, and then once we sort of get a turnover ball, one of the boxes which is so underrated is our player turnover ball, which has always been good for a while under Rassi, and like every time the Grant Williamson put up a box kick, it was turning into a weapon, and then the box kept going. But then the problem is now is when we go away from that. Like now we don't want to box anymore. Now we sort of trying to go immediately wide. Like, but yes, like I'm like, guys, we've got 110 kg inside sitting under essays, and can you just run over some people again? Like, why does everything have to be behind his back, or he's pulling it back to him? I'm like, guys, like, can we also just go through them a little bit? Yes, Eben was fantastic. I mean, you can see he spent a lot of time with Aches Niema, and his offload game has also gotten very strong. It was like, guys, some guys just run into someone, and I don't know if the Marco and C experiment worked because I did feel like we were a ball carrier short, and like I don't know, like it's just like I'm not one to question or Rassi. Like it's I just really hope John Luke Dupree's going to play this weekend. I just think we need an extra carry at eight. Um, I think the way the Springboks play, there's a type of eight that we prefer that works for us. Is a dominant ball carrier, dominant ball stopper. Like it's still strange to me that Evan Rose doesn't get in the mix because I'm like, if you're looking for someone who's going to be a like for like replacement of Jasper, we have at the moment is probably Evan. But yeah, I think that's the big one, Tyler. Like I think, like you said, I don't want to throw the baby out of the bathwater and sit here and go like, oh no, it didn't work. I mean, if we're gonna fix the execution, I just think, yeah, I just 1-8, 1-7 kick ratio. I'll take that. We'll take that.
But even the forwards, I'm just looking at their stats now. Like carries to passes, Ox is 6 carries to 4 passes, Marks is 8 to 4, Wilco's 1 to 3 passes, Etzebeth is 12 carries to 15 passes and 3 offloads. Like, I think the only one that had or the only two, Van Staden was 11 carries to 3 and Kolisi was 6 to 1. So it's like, I like this, but I think Kooks, yeah, it's a balance thing. I like you almost want it to only be maybe 3 or 4 of those players have like similar pass to carry ratios, and then everyone else is sort of just tracking it up like they need to. Like we just need to just find that balance with the game plan, and yeah, maybe also look, guys, we've seen now the Bulls, the Boks. This Highveld thing isn't working for us anymore. Like we can't just rely on Highveld to sap the opposition. Like I don't know, maybe it's a game plan thing or teams are used to the Highveld anymore. It doesn't work like it used to. So we can't now just be
Yeah,
like,
like,
okay, we'll run them off their feet and then we'll pick up the scraps. Like
and, and
it's just not
also
working anymore.
we're seeing way too many teams coming to altitude just rolling sides over. Like, and
Yeah.
then it's the home side that lose the tired one. Then you'll be like, oh no, I'm like, guys, let's just like let's just like chill with this thing now. Like like wow, like we're the ones getting tired.
Yeah. I think now with the game plan and with sort of like you can see the benefits of Pieter-Steph being on the wings and being able to offload to Kurtley Arendse or Kolisi and like his ability to be a baller out wide. And I see what you're saying, Cooks. I think Van Staden's role was kind of the old Kolisi role, like of you hit each and every ruck, and when you get the ball, you're just going straight. You're going to stay in the middle of the field. But now it's now okay. All 15 of us on the field have to be ready that if the ball is going sort of from touchline to touchline, whoever's the closest, get to the ruck, get there first, clean out McReight or whoever the jackler is. And those things just aren't really coming all together. And yeah, I mean, I think, the Boks, I think, are still learning and I think are quite transparent about that. Like they did pull it back when they faced New Zealand last year at home. I think they pulled it back to an extent when they were on the end of the year last year. So I think they're still trying to find the balance. But now the problem becomes how much, how do we find the balance and how do we sort of find the sweet spot? And yeah, Cooks, maybe it is numbers of saying, okay, we're going to look for 1 to 6 points. Okay, sure. Okay, apart from Ochia, Irben, I love Lloyd when he does the backdoor pass. He's like probably one of my golden doing that because he's so good at it. But 3 or 4 of the forwards, you guys can pass. Everyone else run and run straight. I think because now it's almost like a all-court, like total rugby game. Remember when Eddie Jones was trying to do the whole positionless thing? I think the Boks are kind of like doing that.
Yeah.
I think now there is a bit of like confusion as to, okay, am I the one going here? What happens? And now you can see also in defense what happens. Like Ox just completely misread, the read on Angus Bell's like pass to Wilson. Moody, shame. You're saying, Cooks, you don't see the bench. The first time I see Moody, he's on the floor because Wright has just handed them off. Like, you just see now the rucking mistakes and defensive mistakes, I think, are a consequence of, maybe, yeah, and maybe it's just a simple thing of, we haven't played in 3 weeks, maybe we're just not match fit. So maybe it's also partly that as well. But those factors are just now not helping the Boks in being able to execute, to the standard they need to. So penalties conceded will be a problem. The kicking will be a problem. The turnovers conceded will be a problem. And now, Cooks, the question is, we've kind of talked about a bit. The news from the Bok camp is that Pieter-Steph has concussion. Sian, Kolisi, and Kurtley Arendse are out with knee injuries. Edel van der Merwe is also out with the ankle injury. There's going to be quite a few changes now to this team, just enforced. Like, pretty much our first choice loose chair is out. And it forces a lot of questions as to who's going to fill in what role, what they're going to do. The bench composition might be a question again. Yeah. I just literally see an update now, but Pimpy's been called up into the squad. So how do you think Rassie does now for his selection on Tuesday?
So I think I won't be surprised to see Ron Nakia starting at 7. You sort of, you've seen it for the Bulls. I think he's going to lean. He's definitely going in the lock route. Obviously there's no Vincent Chituka in the squad, and I see he hasn't been called up now. So he's probably the likes of Avisa, a Nokia, most that potentially stand a chance to play at 7. I think just to beef up that line out and Nokia does give you that work rate. My only concern there again, Thala, if Nokia comes in, he still feels kind of light. Like in terms of like he's a hard worker, but he's still losing out on the ball carrying ability of Pieter-Steph du Toit. Like Pieter-Steph is still a very good ball carrier. Also got the skills to offload out wide, but he's still a dominant ball carrier. I think Jean-Luc Dupreez is probably going to come in at 8 or Visa. Or Kwagga. So there are quite options there. So I'm surprised to see that like a Jean-Luc comes in at 8. And then, I think the wing is tough. I think we're probably going to see go back to the old core, Mapimpi and Colby on the wing, unless he goes Moody. Unless he goes with Moody on the wing, which I still think he is a wing, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Mapimpi and Colby come because Mapimpi does seem like he's got enough experience to plug and play. You know,
Yeah.
he's been in the system forever, and it's like the weather in Cape Town. It looks like I checked it as like about 14 degrees. I checked yesterday, it's 14 degrees. Possible rain. I mean, it's always raining this time of the year in Cape Town. Like if I look now, yeah, Saturday and the 40% chance of rain, 14 degrees. Um,
And wind.
Wind about 27K wind, 47K gusts. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see because I mean, tell you the box was Russ is a catch 22. I know Russ also in his press conference said he wanted to obviously pick the side. He had picked the side already in training for Monday, but now they've lost momentum now. So some guys who were meant to play yesterday aren't going to get on the field. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see like what he does now. But like, does he go the conventional way? Like, listen, I need to get a win, so I'm gonna go 7-1 split. Andre, Billy, bring the boys back, or do you again back the same method? Obviously, tweak a few things here and there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Colby and Mapimpi sort of reunited. I think obviously Dylan comes straight back in if he's fit. Um, I think Duke comes back. Yeah, 13 would be interesting. I mean, some people are saying does Kriel get a bit of a rest and you go Moody at 13? I can't see it. I think we're going back to sort of DDA and then sort of Kriel. I think if you had won this weekend, would see a sort of like maybe a Moody comes in. You know what I mean? I think sort of, but I think Kriel sort of stays in. I think sort of Sasha comes in. So like it's so fun like on Twitter, like we still get like, oh, but Sasha just didn't have on Sasha. I'm like, guys, remember Sasha against Georgia was also doing his own things there. So let's not like, but I saw this great I think it's on TikTok this great meme, but saying Rusty's gonna pick and they quoted that old Thanos quote, like you couldn't live with your own failure. So where did they bring you back to me? Like back to Polly. Polly, just come in here. We're gonna win 15-13, Polly. Just take us to the promised land as you always do. But I'm very keen to see what he does. What do you think he'll do?
Yeah, Pollard he always wins. Like, when they talk about casinos, that the house always wins. Pollard always wins when he's not on the field because
Yeah.
his value just goes up more and more and more every time he doesn't play. Yeah, I'd be very shocked if he's not starting on Saturday. Like, especially with the weather, especially with what happened on Saturday. Like this, and look, even regardless of this is our last match before Eden Park. So this should be almost like the dress rehearsal, if you want to put it that way as well. So, and if there's any chance of us winning the Rugby Championship, this needs to be a win and probably a bonus point win. So yeah, Pollard is in. I I think with the loose trio thing, this has to be a game that Jean-Luc starts. Like, I know he's played a few other big games. He's played against All Blacks, played against England. This is probably the biggest test match of Jean-Luc Dupre's career. Like, because this could be the game that sort of proves, is he someone worth persisting on? Or should Rassi sort of call back someone like Russ or look at someone like Frankie Horn or Pepsi Buthelezi or whatever the case is? Like, this is the game where Jean-Luc can, at the very least, try to show that, I am an alternative for Jasper Visa. I can sort of get into that mix. So,
Tyler, wait, sorry. Like, also, even as someone like Jasper Vista, you said the house always wins. How does this guy always get suspended or something happens and then like he comes back? You're like, oh, thank goodness, Jasper. No one else is taking your place. Jasper, please. But then but he's the guy that puts us in this mess because he just gets suspended.
like, he's like Thomas Lavanini. Like, it doesn't matter how much he gets suspended. Like, the team needs him. So he'll just roll back into the team. And, like, Pollard, to an extent, we always do this thing of like trying to find someone else for Pollard, but Visa especially, we always try to find someone else for Visa. Like, I've been on the Hanekom train and the Low train and the Ruiz train, and this guy every time, just his value just shows up, and like it gets more and more, especially when he doesn't play. So this is such a big. I can't. I think there's about in the like I'm assuming that it's a Beth and Lourdes start again. I'm assuming that Achis Neyman is on the bench. So there are, let's say, 4 to 5 places, depending on whether we do a 5-3 or 6-1, 6-2. I think we're doing a 6-2. And there's 6 players. Van Staden, Kwagga, Jean-Luc Dupré, Mostert, Nokia, and Visa. So 6 players and probably 5 places. So one of these players is not going to play. I would probably say Kobus Visa is in the stands. I'd start Mostert instead of Nokia, and then basically have Nokia and Snyman be my second half lock pairing. Or, if need be, Nokia can also come at flank. And Jean-Luc, buddy, you better get ready to play 80 minutes. So if Jean-Luc can at least match what Valentini, and I assume Valentini's playing this weekend, he can match what Valentini brings, or at least be competitive with him, then Jean-Luc, you've put yourself into a Springbok squad for the next 2 years, and not just the bag holding role that you have now. Like, this is such a big opportunity for him. I think the conditions are going to show, like, if it's windy or rainy or whatever the case is, the conditions are also like promoting like tight play and big carries and, trying to be as dominant in contact as possible. And look, we saw the Wallabies play a really good rainy game against the Lions in the third test.
Yeah.
So it's not like the Wallabies. In fact, I mean, this test was so weird in some ways because it felt like we were the Wallabies, like the immature side, trying to throw the ball around, like trying to sort of chance our arm. And the Wallabies were the big side, and they were kind of using, not that they use their physicality, but now this will be a game where Skelton can flourish. This will be a game where Taniela Tupou and Valentini can flourish. So I think this is such a big game for Jean-Luc Dupré. Mostert is also, I think, kind of like in that, I guess, Bongi Bonambi area of people are starting to look at you and wondering if you can sort of continue in the Bok team. And I think if he starts, this is also a big game for him, and he'll probably have some feature in it as well. So, yeah, I would do that. I think the centers, you have to go to Old Faithful with Dialendi and Creel. Like, we saw now with how, especially if James O'Connor starts again, like, this is not a good Jesse Creel game. Like, the defense just wasn't, like, was just opened too often. So, yeah, maybe it is now going back to almost the 2019 sort of like version of having Mapimpi and Colby on the wings, having Creel and Dialendi in the centers. Maybe this is a Vili Leroux game, but I mean, if we're going to try to fix the problem of one-on-one tackles at the back, I don't think Vili's the person I'm going to call. But I know Vili's going to kick the ball. So he's not going to call a crash ball to himself like Willemse did in the 22 in the last 10 minutes. So, yeah, so Vili gives, Vili takes. So, yeah, it might be sort of the Bok backline from 2019 with Williams at a Faf, and then a loose trio of Van Staden, Mostert, and Jean-Luc. And Jean-Luc, you're going to carry as much as possible, buddy. And then Akhe Snyman is probably going to come on after 45 minutes and sort of continue from there.
Yeah, I think Akhe comes straight back. I think Akhe comes in as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just think...
Sorry, Kooks. I was just thinking quickly. You could also do Etzebeth and Snyman at lock, and then Nokia at flank, and then he runs your line out basically from there.
Yeah.
Because I think it doesn't make sense having Nokia and Lut in the field at the same time. So maybe that's a way of adding physicality. If you're worried about the weather, if you're worried about sort of the physicality, is just having Snyman and Etzebeth, they go as far as they can, and having Nokia playing at 7, and then once Nokia tires, you can put in Lut at lock.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good shot. I mean, I'd love to see Snyman obviously getting a start and him getting back in the mix. But just, I mean, I'm very interested to see how the Boks go. And but yeah, flipping hell, man, like that one.
This is in some ways it's kind of fun because the hot takes get hot.
Wow.
And
the thing is, I'll tell you who's was the fucking number one biggest benefit of this is the Lions, because they've been hearing for 2 weeks about how how convincing it was, and like what they would Springboks would have been them 3-0, and like now they're just like, yeah, you see, you guys couldn't beat them in Ellis Park. Now you're telling us about how crap Australia are. No. So the Lions show like stocks have gone up. Like podcasts are gonna be reshot. Like maybe the Lions were good. Like maybe maybe they did well.
Andy Farrell must be laughing so much right now because he went from no, he's on fraud watch. Anyone could beat the Wallabies 3-0 to now, there's something there. Yeah, like big winner from that weekend is Farrell. I mean, we saw the World Rugby rankings. The Boks are third for the first time in a while. The New Zealanders actually I think they're first for the first time in 4 years, if I read that stat correctly. So they're on top of the rugby world, and it's a bit of a problem because obviously we're doing the World Cup draw at the end of this year. So another big loss for the Boks at home. That could now put them in that region between like England, Australia,
Yeah.
Argentina, where now you're gonna now be not in the top seeds, and now you've got New Zealand in your group or France in your group. And I mean, look, the Boks like losing a pool stage match. That's not a problem for them. But I think they prefer not to be, in these tough groups if they can help it. So yeah, there are consequences to that. We've talked about the consequences of a rugby championship. Just one more question, Cooks. This is the first time the Wallabies. I don't know if it's accurate to say it's the first time they've won their first game in the rugby championship, but this is the first time in a while where they actually have the bets are off for them. They've done what they needed to do
Yeah.
in a game. They can actually sort of play around selections. So some people are talking about maybe Schmidt. This is the time for Schmidt to sort of play around, give the likes of, Champion de Crespigny a game, play Paisami in the midfield with Josh Fluke, play Aiden Ross at prop, play Josh Nasser maybe as starting, and also rest some of the players that have played now 3 Lions tests, a game in Johannesburg, the likes of McReight and Wilson and Ikitau. I mean, Wilson and Ikitau looked like they were injured, to be fair. So what do you do if you're Joe Schmidt, Cooks? Because there is an argument of, maybe do give the other players a game. We kind of saw this with the Lions with Andy Farrell, is playing the same team over and over. Eventually they run out of steam. And then that's when a team that's obviously highly motivated can catch them on their day. Maybe you are showing the Boks something that they're not quite expecting, if now the loose trio has Tizano and Valentini instead. And it also just gives those players another week off, and then they can really just get their energy up for playing Argentina and then playing the All Blacks later. So what would you do?
Well, you look at it, I mean, they'll be forced into making changes anyway. So, like if Valentini comes back, maybe you rest a skeleton. Tala, for me, to be honest with you, I think if you told me this before we found out Pieter-Steph, Sia, Kirtley's injured, and you're going, okay, maybe, but now you're going, oh, listen, yeah, like, oh, can we try and leave Cape Town with 2 wins? Like, can we stick? And listen,
That's
tell
so
us
wild.
next week. Like, I mean, I'm saying also, and you got the bye next week, and then maybe against
Yeah.
Argentina, you sort of going, all right, we can mix things up at home against Argentina, and sort of and going to those guys like, listen, you're at home against Argentina. This is the time we're gonna make a few changes. If anything happens, the guys are right here. I'm going full strength again. I know obviously the guys they've had a long stretch of games, but like you said, I think you'll mix it up a bit, you'll tweak, but I'm not going too many household changes. I'm looking at this. If you're Australia, like listen, there's a chance here to go back to back in South Africa with like losing Sia and Pieter-Steph. That's a lot of experience we're losing because now we're speaking about the guys replacing them in a Nokia, in a Visa, even Kwaka's a full experience, but he's best used as an impact player. I know Kia didn't do pretty. There's not much experience coming back, and your wives are going, well, we might get a Valentini to come back. Because Valentini comes back, he'll be the best loose forward in the park. So I'm going for the Jaguar Tyler. I'm going, listen, yeah, there's a good chance here we can leave here 2-0, and then maybe looking at Argentina when you get back home.
But I really tried. I tried to get you into the game, man. I'm sorry, guy. Like, yeah, I was trying to see if the Josh Flukes and Attain Edmund XI can happen. Yeah, the Saturday's gonna be really interesting. Like the injuries, Cooks. I think, I mean, I would have said it was gonna be like a 40-point win for the Boks. Like, that sort of like backlash type of game. But yeah, it's you can survive Kolisi being injured, you can survive Pieter-Steph being injured. Not both of them at the same time,
Yeah.
with Visa also being out. It does balance things out. So yeah, if you're just adding Valentini to the 23 from last weekend, and you trust White and O'Connor to sort of build on that momentum, I mean, has Jay McDermott just become like a top five wing now? Because he's now finished the last three games at wing and he's done fantastically there. So yeah, it's Saturday becomes a very interesting game. It's not going to be all one-way traffic now. Could
Yeah.
just go to Cordoba where, sorry,
Oh,
go on.
no, but also even a Colchizano in terms of like, listen, another name to sort of throw a mess into that bench to sort of the breakdown. I'm just want to see him getting a cap this weekend.
Yeah, I'd go 6-2 if I'm the Wallabies. Like
Yeah.
Pisano and I mean, even look, Hooper maybe falls onto the bench. Hooper has to be in my 23 from now on until the World Cup.
Yeah.
So, okay, Hooper's your lock reserve. Not as, I mean, maybe not as much of a lock as Williams, but like you can survive with Hooper and Frost. I mean, obviously they play together at the Brumbies. Gleason is obviously your ball carrier because Valentini doesn't play, it probably won't play 80 minutes. I'd love Tizano there. And Tizano, I think, is a bit bigger than McReight. So, you know, and you can also do Tizano and McReight at the same time. So if the Boks haven't learned their lessons
Yeah.
with the Rucks, now you have Tizano and McReight causing havoc. So, yeah, I'd do 6-2. You don't play Edmund. I mean, like you said, he doesn't replace the fly off anyway. James O'Connor can fill in any position.
Yeah.
McDermott can fill in any position. Kellaway can sort of do what he needs to do. So, yeah, I'd probably go 6-2. So yeah, 6-2 probably for the Boks as well. So it'll be the battle of the 6-2s. Could
Yeah.
just go to Argentina. So New Zealand wins that game, and like I said earlier, pretty similar to how this game went. So they win 42 points to 41 points to 24. There was a moment there in the middle of the second half where Argentina was coming back. I think it was Oviedo scores in the 60th or 64th minute. The game is 24-31, and it's looking a bit shaky. But credit to the All Blacks, it seems like they are more and more not listening to the Coens and the Wilsons, and they've just realized we have a world-class pack.
Yeah.
And they just absolutely battered the Argentinians up front, won scrum penalties, used their rolling maul, and that closed the game off for them.
I just think the All Blacks, their greatest asset at the moment is probably Jason Ryan. I mean, ever since he's come in there, he's turned them into probably they've probably got the second best scrum after us. Um, he's put together he's building sort of a great depth in terms of prop. They got a fantastic maul. They probably have the best maul in the world, and we know how good he is in stopping maul. So they got this weapon now where they can just always go to when push comes to shove. And the All Blacks, they always tend to, the funniest thing, Tyler, people like kind of forget, even at their very, very best, when games got tight and got close, they got tighter as well, and they'll lean on their forwards, and now they're getting a pack now that's starting to sort of dominate, and that pack is still isn't at, even at full strength. That's a scary part. There's still certain positions like they're sitting for an eight, and Audie was back at eight this weekend, but. I mean, like, but the work Jason Ryan has done on that forward pack, I mean, he basically saved Ian Foster's job in 2022. So, like, I just think they're in a good place. And like you said, they did what the Boks should have done in terms of knew when to go tighter. But I think it's a massive win for the All Blacks, Tyler, to go to Argentina again. I think obviously for them, they're banking on. I mean, obviously they want to go and sort of get both wins there, and then obviously you coming home for the two ones against the Springboks. But they still like the All Blacks are still like in a weird place, but in terms of like we don't there's still positions there where they're still not sure about. I mean, I know Billy Proctor's like he was 13 from sort of going into it, but he still hasn't sort of kicked on the way they wanted him to. I still think that yeah, I mean they're back to number one in the world now at the moment, so I'm sure breakdown's gonna be fun to watch today. Um, but like it's scary for me to think that they've got this weapon in their maul like they can just always lean to even their scrum as well. They got which makes them even scarier because then now it's given the likes of a Barrett, it's given Bowden and Geordie and Will Jordan those guys even more space and even more comfort. So yeah, I mean, what a win for them. And oh, geez, Tyler, it's like you see now why I'm stressed now for the Eden Park test is the fact that I'm like we like I know Pieter-Steph like is just concussed, so hopefully he'll be back. But hopefully I'm saying hopefully it's not a big concussion. Hopefully he'll be back for Eden Park. I don't want to go. I don't. The way even our maul also hasn't been great. The Springboks. That's the thing, and they're mauling great. So, the All Blacks and the maul dressing around is giving me nightmares. Yeah,
And the thing is that it's been 4 tests now. They've only played well in one, and that was
yeah,
that second test against France. Every other game, they've just been pretty average. Like you haven't pretty much mentioned any of the backline players because I don't think any of them are playing well except for maybe Will Jordan. And
I
you
think
know,
I think probably Barrett. I think Bowden Barrett.
Bodie's been fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
fair enough.
Bowden's been fine. And Roygaard. So Roygaard's been good. I mean, Roygaard has been. I mean, but
Okay, and Geordie as well. To be fair,
and yeah, and yeah, George. I mean, George is always good. But like Europe, but no one's in the backline is sort of like they're not leading a world player of the year nomination race or anything like that. Like, but tell them maybe this is what they are. To be honest with you, like we keep saying like we keep saying like even like last year, against like those games like England could have beaten them literally 4 times last year, or I mean 3 times last year, and there's games that they escape from. I mean, there's times they show up like against us. I mean, like I just think this is what they are. I think the thing what's sort of benefiting Razor last year is, which I'm curious to see as the season goes, is those sort of close games now they finding ways to win them compared to like last
mm,
year. They were on the other side like against France, and then when they get in games, then they sort of lose it, and against us. I mean, against us, last season you look at the 160 minutes of rugby we played, probably for about 140 though the better side.
yeah,
And so I think now I think for me what it seems like is they almost like leaning towards on their pack and having this maul and then little bits of magic from the back. So Bowden and Geordie, well, Jordan will do something. I think that's the picture we're sort of getting this year. Almost they're very Crusaders-y, like
yeah,
where it's the pack that's doing the bulk of the work, and then the problem is then there's a Rishi Mwanga who's going to create magic. More Jordan sort of creates magic, and that's how it's sort of starting to feel.
yeah. They just need a Dallas McLeod now.
Yeah.
Um,
So or break Cameron off the bench. Oh, but they do actually in Mackenzie. Maybe International Rugby's break Cameron.
that's so disrespectful. Yeah, but like even just like New Zealand now have even probably six great props now because Tosi and Norris they've come through in the last
Yeah.
few test matches. Like they haven't had Tamati Williams. They've only had Lomax for a game. They've now looked good. George Bauer looks actually like a rugby player again. So props are sorted. Tuipulotu probably pulled off one of the most heroic last-ditch try-saving tackles I've
Mhm.
ever seen in my life. I don't know how he did it because it felt like Argentina almost got someone like free to go score, and he just came out of nowhere to wipe someone out. And he's been fantastic since he came back into the squad. Fabian Holland, we must just add his name into that top 10 list for most caps because he's
Yeah.
going to be there in 15 years' time. So he's been fantastic. Um, look, I don't think Karifi is a long-term solution for Test rugby. I don't think he's like, I think he'll get found out in sort of against better teams, but at least he's a good stopgap. And obviously, we know how good Adi is. Tupovai, he's probably been their best player this season, actually. Like, he's just been fantastic week after week after week. Like, even the last, like, 10 minutes, he just absolutely was just dominating the Argentinian lineout as well. So, the forwards are great and they're all really young as well. That's the scary, I think that's for me the more scary part is maybe, we'll see what happens in Eden Park. I think now it's looking closer to 50-50 than it did maybe a few weeks ago, where I thought, okay, the Boks, it's more likely. I think last week I was saying it's more likely the Boks win 2-0 than the All Blacks win 2-0. Now, not so sure. So, yeah, their forwards, I think if they lean into that, I think they feel like they can give the Boks and the French and whoever a run for their money. The backs, whatever, man. Like that'll sort itself out. So having both your outside centers get yellow cards, Rico Ioane just looks lost at wing. Reese is also now overstaying his welcome in terms of the age policy. It does seem like Razor listens to that because Talea also played when he was 28. So it doesn't really matter. Like your backs are good enough, they'll take the opportunities that they need to take. If your forwards are giving them opportunities, like it doesn't really matter who you have there. Like the All Blacks probably for the first time don't have like a generational outside back that's just coming into the game that is changing everything. It's sort of the same old, same old. So yeah, it doesn't really matter for them, and that's why they can sort of produce these results. Now, on Argentina, quickly, Cooks. I mean, I promised you a win in the first test for the Argentinians against the All Blacks because that's what they usually do. When you doubt them, they win, and now they can't even do that. Argentina has a horrible record at home. I think they've only won against pretty much like France second team and Uruguay like in the last few years, and us. So I don't even know what to say. Like it looked like Garcia, their scrum off, didn't know what to do. There were so many times he picked up the ball and was looking around trying to see what he needs to do now when he gets it. Albanaz had such a weird game because the moments he looked magical, like his try, obviously, but he had the most carries in the team. You don't want your fly to have the most carries in the team.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to do too much. There's some moments where the ball just was passed to no one. It was just bouncing somewhere. Like I don't think they brought in Cinti and Chocobares into the game. I don't think they used the amazing, loose forwards they have in like in Matera and Kremer. Like their forwards and their set piece is just not good enough. So, and I know they have some injuries in prop. Gajo wasn't there. Like they have a few props from the like from the Super Rugby. So they're not going to win games if they're not able to sort of keep those things going. And I think what the All Blacks and what other sides are learning is if you kind of allow Argentina to be the ones in possession and for them to attack, that's fine. It's when they defend and then they can sort of play off transition. That's when they become a problem. And that's when they spring surprises on the Boks and the All Blacks and the Lions. So I think that's kind of the game plan against them now.
Yeah, and then same old also like it doesn't help. They're gonna give away yellow cards as well. I mean, one may be a little harsh, but I mean, like, but it's not gonna help the cause. But like again, like their defense also was actually like yes, I mean the All Blacks got a fantastic more, but you can't allow a side to average 5.8 points every in 8 22-meter entries. Like that's like especially the All Blacks. Like yes, it shows how ruthless the All Blacks were, but Argentina tell like yeah, they are a weird space. Like they just can't play at home. You know, like it's like I don't know what like if they need to be away from home because like all these big performers they put in they put together on their way from home and they go and shock teams in the way from home and they'll go be passionate and all the pauses will stick in the way they'll control the games will be away from home but they almost like they get home there's like too much pressure and they can't win a game at home so look at the England series I mean the second test they just couldn't close the game out when they were cruising or like or it's like okay, cool, we'll concede 30 points, but then we'll score 70 against the Wallabies. Like we'll have like it's always like something wild with them. They can't just win a game 24-10. Like and even like in New Zealand game, like they found ways to get back in that game. And you see yourself, okay, cool, like yes, it's been a slow start. Man, how have they managed to get themselves a score away from being back in there and sort of and then again, it's something silly. Yeah, they pack is it hasn't the pack isn't good enough. Like I said, like it's they can easily be bullied, and that's frustrating for. And like Argentina is so weird because remember, like if you go back pre Rugby Championship days, they used to have a pack that didn't go backwards and fantastic scrum, but then like they just couldn't score a try. Um, and now it's sort of gone completely 60, where it's like they can hurt any
Yeah.
side of the world, but just with scrum time and more time, you can have your way with them. And if you're against the All Blacks, but again, like I still think, like again, you don't know what you can expect from these orgs. Like they are going to rock one of the Springboks, Australia, or like we All Blacks doing this weekend. Someone's going to catch them on a good day, and that's the problem. And there's nothing you can do. And then like they just like the frustrating thing for me is like I wish their good days still come. Like they they need to find a way like to get this home form sorted out. Although you're not going to win the Rugby Championship if you can't win home games. That's unfortunate. You can't be a
Yeah.
good, you can't be a good test side if you can't win at home. Like then they always the linger in the eighth, ninth rank. scenario. Like, I mean, like, what? And they can't wait for every like, third World Cup to sort of make a semi-final as well. Like, it's almost like they plan. Like, so I'm keen to see how they go this weekend. I just really hope it, for our sake as Springbok fans, is they find that passion and get a home win this weekend. We're desperate for a
Yeah.
home win.
Yeah. I mean, the positives was Oviedo was great. Like he's just in a great run of form right now. Like he's been fantastic and like he's made the number 8 shirt his own. So like Gonzalez, Matera, well, Gonzalez especially, like he's not able to get into the starting team. But I mean, Gonzalez is not a bad option off the bench, so it doesn't really matter that much. And definitely please start um, like the one thing I was just a bit like when I saw the team, I was just like, okay, I mean, you know, having Molina and Rubiolo start at lock, but not having Petty start. I mean, Guido Petty has had probably his best season for Bordeaux. He's probably one of the best players was one of the best players in Europe. So maybe play him 60, 70 minutes. Just a suggestion for Felipe
Yeah.
Contepomi.
No.
Just a small one.
Yeah.
So they are playing in Buenos Aires this weekend. Yeah, we'll have to see how they come back. Yeah, for the Springboks sake, like you just mentioned, Kooks, it needs to be an Argentina win, or at the very least, don't allow the New Zealanders to get a bonus point. Oh yeah, sorry. Back to the Boks very quickly. That was also just a weird thing that the Boks, it seemed like they weren't aware, or they just didn't really fight for stopping Australia from getting a bonus point. Like, guys, at the very least, don't give away 5 points when you are getting thrashed at home. Like, that was just also a bit weird. Kooks, just to finish off, it's the week of the Rugby World Cup starting. We are in England. It's going to be a fantastic World Cup. I think we're also going to be riding off the momentum of the Lionesses and how well they did in England as well. So, in terms of what to look forward to this weekend, we start with England opening up against US. US have been pretty up and down with their warm-up games. I think they're still trying to figure out sort of the back line, if Ma coming into the centers and how that looks. But yeah, England obviously are overwhelming favourites. For the Springboks, they are playing on Sunday afternoon against Brazil. And Cooks, that's basically a must win. So we've got France and Italy in our group. If we want to qualify for the quarterfinals, we have to beat Brazil. And then we pretty much have to beat Italy. And so the Brazil game needs to be probably a bonus point win.
Yeah, 100%. I think yeah, it's massive. At least we're going into the World Cup with some sort of momentum, or big momentum. I mean, it's chalk and cheese to how we were 4 years ago, and especially with Coach Swayze as well as to Brain and even the way we play. So this is a must win for us. Because obviously I think all roads lead to that Italy side. They beat us at WX2, but that's the sort of the game where you think we sort of targeting and going, okay, cool. That's something that gets us into a quarterfinal. But the tough thing is that we were on track to play against England in the quarterfinal. But I think, Thala, you mentioned, I think bonus point is going to be key this weekend. I think that's will be the perfect start. And I think because I think my thing is if we pick up momentum, I think and that last win against the Black Ferns 15, and sort of that's a good place to go. You don't go from that and then you like sort of find yourself in a close game with Brazil where you can go from that game into a bonus point win, just keep the momentum going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, look, if we get to a quarterfinal against the Red Roses, I don't even care about the score. I just care that we're in the quarterfinal. Like, I
Yeah.
genuinely, if Red Roses had put much better teams, like, through the sword for 60, 70, 80 points. So this is also the first time it's a 16-team World Cup. So, we have the likes of, Samoa and Brazil that are in and Spain that are in that are usually not. So Friday night is England against US. Then Saturday is Australia versus Samoa. You're probably expecting Australia to win that. They're in the same group as England and the US. Scotland face Wales. They're, Six Nations rivals. They always have classics. They seem to always have like those
Yeah.
close games and like a late penalty wins it or a late try. So that probably also will try sort out second in that group because in their group is Canada and Fiji. Fiji they beat us in the last few seconds in the last World Cup and they play similar to the men, great brand of rugby. Canada are probably the dark horses of this World Cup, second in the world. So you have to look out for them. Then on Sunday, it's France versus Italy, our fellow group rivals. Cooks, France is going through a lot. I mean, they just got thrashed by the Red Rose. Apparently, there's some fighting in camp. It's a typical France preparation to a World Cup, which probably means they're going to the final.
Yeah, pretty much. Sounds like well, what I'm hoping for is a little bit more infighting this week, and then we can catch them next week Sunday and roll them over. So I want them to sort of like win this weekend, fight again, and then like they can fix it like after we play them.
Yeah, we wouldn't mind if France is not off the ball there. Ireland is playing Japan in the afternoon. Off Wafer's back, and I mean she's probably one of the best players in the world. And then finally, New Zealand plays Spain. Black Ferns defending their World Cup. They're playing. Spain has been pretty nice. I think they're looking like a pretty sort of smart team, and although they got beaten quite badly by the Red Roses, yeah. So lots of rugby to look forward to this weekend. I mean, bit sad that the Canada Fiji game clashes with the Springbok game, and I guess a part of the Scotland Wales game. But yeah, definitely more than enough rugby to sort of flick in between the different channels. Are you? I mean, we've been talking about trying to hopefully do a much better preview and hopefully have someone that knows a lot more than we do for this as well. But are you? So, would you rather take England or the field in terms of who's winning this World Cup?
Man, this is tough because I mean, England is flying at the moment. I mean, they've lost one test match in 58 games. I think that was the World Cup final
Yeah.
years ago. You know, I'm actually going for the field.
Oof.
And I know England has had the only heartbreak is New Zealand, but I feel like there's going to be another one here. I feel like there's going to be another upset. Yes, I mean all roads for them. It's in England and it's their home, but I'm going with the field. And you?
I can't. Oh, I'd be so heartbroken for them. Like I'd love. Obviously, I'd love for the Boks to win. I'd love for Canada to win. That would be like the story of the century because they're not even professional and they literally have to like crowdfund
Yeah.
their participation in the World Cup. So it's ridiculous that they're the second best team in the world. But if England doesn't win it, I'll be so heartbroken for them because it's literally like, I mean, even bigger than like the New Zealand like men's chokes. Like you can't be literally an unbeaten team in every game but the final of a World Cup. Like that's just ridiculous. So it has to happen for England. I think maybe get the Lionesses over there, like get their vibes into the thing. It's at home. I mean, it's a pressure thing, and I mean, a lot of these players have never even faced a game where they're like within 7 points of losing. So
Yeah.
this will be different. But yeah, I'm hoping for their sakes that they win the World Cup. Cooks, finally, just to wrap up, so what are you going to do when the Sharks play in the first division of the Currie Cup next season?
Jeez. Oh, Tyler, my goodness. You know what? I do know that the Sharks obviously are especially in the Currie Cup. I mean, it's a young side in a big rebuild mode. I think they're most in province. Yeah, it's frustrating. Obviously, I do want them to see them do well, but again, like, I just kind of know, like when Neil Powell's come out and said they are playing a bunch of kids, so you almost got to take it with a pinch of salt and try to see who sort of develops from that squad. I mean, like, listen, like there's 19 and 20-year-olds taking on grown men, and yes, I know obviously the guys are coming from World Cups, but it's tough. You know,
Yeah,
it's still tough. You know, I'm like it's and you almost rather have. You know, the Sharks are playing with Sione Erson and Vusi Moyo on the weekend. One guy's 21, one is 20. It was another one is three. He's playing his third professional game, and his third senior game. Sorry, and in Moyo and Erson is just as young. I mean, Province are going through the same thing as well. So the question is like, what do you do if you those unions? Do you sort of like the Sharks are kind of cool? Do you draft in more of those URC guys to come and help out, but then now the youngsters aren't playing. So it's like, I don't know, it's just a bit of a catch-22. So yeah, it is frustrating. I think obviously as a Sharks fan, like you're sort of kind of going into, win every tournament, obviously with defending champions. Yeah, but it's tough. But also in saying that with the Currie Cup, I mean, it's been probably one of the best ones in years. I mean, defensively, no. But but some of the teams, like what's happening in Bola and Cavaliers, that's a great
Yeah.
story. The Cheetahs are obviously doing well. The Greek ones, I mean, they've been fantastic, and the Bulls, I mean, have also been sort of been consistent as well. But like what's happening in Bola is fantastic. I mean, that's been the story of the Currie
Yeah.
Cup. That the new stars, the youngsters are getting a chance. So I mean, that's what you want to see. Pumas are playing well. So that's ideally with the Sharks in the Western Province. When we play First Division Currie Cup against Falco next year, we'll sort of let's hopefully we're gonna get down that path. I mean, like it'll be funny when the Sharks if there's a relegation match and it's like the poor like Falco won the First Division Currie Cup playing against like Eben Etzebeth, Sia Kolisi, and all those for the Sharks to stay in the Currie Cup.
When the or the promotion relegation game is used as a URC warm-up game,
Yeah,
and then
100%, 100%.
Buthelezi and Tutuka all coming back.
Yeah, in between the Boks going from championship to end of year tour.
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, this is why I'm like, I don't know if the Currie Cup fits perfectly where it needs to fit, because now, like you said, this is not, I don't want to see a URC regular in these competitions. Like, they need to rest up and get ready for, we know how long and grueling the European season is. But now you're kind of feeling pressure. We saw this with Jake White 2 years ago, and him and Ron O'Keefe pretty much were playing for 12 months because they were trying to secure their involvement in the Currie Cup. So Sharks are playing the Western Province this weekend, so hopefully one of them wins and gets themselves off the bottom of the table. But yeah, shout out to Boland. Like, that's, I want them to win. I mean, I know they are backed with a lot of millions, but yeah, it's still a good story if they come through. So yeah, there is a lot of rugby to look forward to. We didn't even touch on the NPC, but yeah, there's Rugby Championship, there's Currie Cup there for dessert, and there's the Rugby World Cup happening as well. So please like and follow and share and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, on YouTube. Make sure that you share this podcast with your friends. Follow us on our social media channels as well. And yeah, please, we hopefully will have something later in the week, focus on the Women's Rugby World Cup, but otherwise, we'll definitely come back and wrap up the weekend's rugby. So see you then. Bye-bye.
Yes.